Let's get to Anthony LaPopolo. We know Anthony LaPopolo, huh? There's everybody, you should know him. He wrote an article for Calcio Square. Niccolo Fagioli and the hypocrisy of betting scandals. So scandals are back in our lives, and some of the people who are heavily involved are linked again. Fagioli, Tonali, amongst others. But some new names have surfaced. Weston McKennie being one of them. All right, current Juventus player. Let's see what Anthony has to say. The Italian midfielder is one of 13 players involved in an ongoing betting scandal, but he's also a victim. All right. Let's see. Nearly all of Niccolo Fagioli's texts have become public. Most alarming are the ones he received from a criminal moneylender who promised to end his career if he didn't pay up. Not good things, right? I'll make you quit. I'll put you to work as a bricklayer. I'll even take your pen so you can't sign your contracts. I read a message obtained by the Italian newspaper La Corriere della Sport, della Sera, excuse me. Fagioli's betting history is nothing new. He already served a 7-month ban for placing bets on football matches and using illegal websites to wager on them. But prosecutors named him again last week after busting a jewelry store in Milan and seizing $1.5 million in illegal payments. The store allegedly processed debt payments as luxury watch purchases, but watches never actually changed hands. Okay. All this while Fagioli drowned in debt. He owed $1.5 million and was facing interest charges of $140,000, according to La Gazzetta dello Sport. He was so deep into the network that he became an unwitting recruiter. He sought the help of friends and family to recover losses that exceeded his salary. He was 19 when it started and in survival mode. Sandro Tonali fell into a similar hole in the names of past and current Juventus players like Angel Di Maria, Weston McKennie, and Mattia Perin have also emerged. These players are just pawns in a greater illegal network that preys on people with gambling addictions. Tonali and Fagioli in particular have already paid the price privately and publicly. They both sought therapy and have seemed to come to through the toughest period of their lives as better people and players. Tonali is scoring again for Newcastle and recently won the League Cup. Fagioli has a new lease of life from Fiorentina. Yet they're the ones who seem to suffer the most, not the criminal betting organizers who have no recognizable faces. Tonali and Fagioli headline the investigation, even if they're no longer really the protagonists in it. They're forced to relive the nightmare that nearly cost them everything. These boys are like children to me, and they cannot be lambs to the slaughter as they were becoming. It is not a civil way in a civil country, FIGC President Gabriele Gravina said. Take him with a grain of salt. He's a piece of shit in himself. He says, with Tonali and Fagioli initially suspended in October 2023, in Italy there exists a disease. Gambling addiction is a social plague, not just one of Italian football. There are 5.1 million people who play and 1.5 million who are suffering. It is unsurprising that some of them are also involved in football. It's not just unsurprising, it's entirely expected. How could betting not be embedded itself deeply in the ecosystem when halftime ads in Italian television feature the latest odds and the very newspapers that report on betting crimes push lines to readers? Yeah, remember when Milan had BetWin? I mean, how many teams now have some kind of betting site on their as a sponsor? How could players not get sucked into the underworld when clubs accept sponsorships from betting companies and push speculative fan tokens on crypto exchanges? I always thought about that, like all these teams who've had these betting companies as main sponsors, especially on their kit, right front and center. I fare to wager heavily that they are giving a strong hand, saying, use our site, show people that you use our site, and then it becomes addicting, right? So they're part of this problem too. Maybe you just don't allow betting companies to be sponsors anymore. Back to the article. Serie A used to ban these companies from sponsoring teams. At a time when players are battling severe addictions and falling prey to bad actors, the league and itself and team are all too happy to ride the financial windfall that comes for them. Yeah. See? FIGC will try to tell you that they're doing everything in their power to make sure this league is the best in the best standing possible. Yet they have no stance on betting in football, right? They don't give a damn. It used to be they used to never allow betting sponsors happen. And then, Milan and some of the other teams kind of kick things off, and now it seems to be everywhere. It's super prevalent at the moment. Lost of spine in that. racism. We don't even touch racism because FIGC are completely inept in that department. And then like anything and everything that's negative, they are completely shits when it comes to that because they have no concept of how to deal with it. Their biggest worry is piracy. Piracy in football. Get the fuck out of here. I mean, Gravina, the whole lot in FIGC need to fucking go. This is the problem with Serie A. It is the FIGC and what they've allowed to happen to the league, like allowing the betting to come into the league. It's been so stupid what's been going on with the FIGC. I mean, and nobody. I understand it's their own thing, and the country can't get involved, but like somebody somewhere has to stand up, or the teams have got to stand up. And at times we've seen some of the teams trying to stand up for themselves, but like ultimately you fall under the FIGC and league rules, and like if they're not going to help you out, how are you going to? There's only so much you can do. But I digress. Where was I? Let's see. I got next one. Last statement. The good thing is that the investigators continue to uncover these illegal networks, but players like Tonali and Fagioli are victims too. It's hard to get rid of the problem when the league sees the most problematic players is a solution. So, the hypocrisy of betting scandals. This is me reading it for the first time, and so I wasn't sure where Anthony LaPapolo was going with this, but I kind of understand. Obviously, you heard my rant. Florenzi's in the betting scandal too, is he? Wow. Yeah, not surprising. Nothing like finding ways to pay out their gambling debts to own their bookies. Yeah. Can Tonali be sentenced to 8 more years in Milan, please? That's a scare straight program right there. Yeah. We have some nut jobs in the fan base at Milan, including those in Kurasud. Yeah, playing example of the last fight. Yeah. So, I mean, to Anthony LaPapolo's point, hypocrisy of betting scandals is hypocrisy. Now, part of it is like, you can go back as far changing gears in terms of sports, but you look at baseball and Pete Rose even, right? Like, should he have been sanctioned as hard as he was? Like, granted, he did it. He bet against his own team. Like, if betting is so illegal in sport, but it isn't in life, like, if your country allows it, like, that's a tough line, right? You're allowed to bet outside of work, but in work you can't. But if you're involved with a company or a team, you just can't bet in general. Like, make it legal for everybody, or make it legal for everybody. Now, people have addictions. It's a true problem, and some people need to find ways to get resolve that. Like Fagioli and Tonali have again therapy, right? It's a real thing. Addiction is a serious thing, and it's not just with gambling. It's all sorts of things, right? And so they need help. Lots of people and players need help. But I can't stand is the league trying to say, yeah, we're with the players, this and that, when the league does absolute shit when it comes to trying to help people. They try to say the right things, but their words don't back up their actions whatsoever. And then they have a history of just being a pot calling kettle black, essentially. When they won't stand up for real issues, even like betting. I don't know. So, like, part of it is, like, these players need help. And they got to do away with all this betting. But a lot of it, the problems, again, come from the FIGC. And someone needs to step up and start being more stringent on what they allow players and people to do in the league. Until that happens, it's not going to change. And I don't see this changing. Like the racism in Serie A, I don't see it changing anytime soon. Does anybody feel differently? I'd love to hear somebody who sees a glimmer of hope, a silver line with all this, because I'm willing to see it, but I don't. Anthony says the stadium situation as well. Yeah, 100%. Marketing of the league, poorly fans across a lot of legit criticism of FIG. Yeah. Pete Rose didn't use steroids like Barry Bonds and Mark McGuire, and a cheat on the baseball for sure. He would not have been having. I also feel strongly about Barry Bonds. I actually feel he got shafted a little bit too, but we're not getting on to baseball tonight. I brought it up. It's my fault. But, no. I think it's not going to change in Serie A anytime soon with anything that's newsworthy, unfortunately. So, what are you going to do?